This is TWiT.
Let's speak of rumors. Analyst Ross Young on Twitter and others now are saying that the next iPhone 14 will have a hole plus pill punch out.
An exclamation mark.
Hole and pill. The smaller hole will not be visible. Will not be invisible. The two-hole concept will be unique to Apple, like the notch, not similar to all the pill models from Huawei. Is Ross reliable?
Yes, he's very reliable because he just sits there and looks at the supply chain.
And it really looks like, honestly, it looks like, it's got a little stamp on it, little Chinese on the stamp. It definitely looks like something might have leaked out of
and that's backwards, so you flip that around, and that's what it's going to look like on the phone.
Ah, okay.
I'm just glad that Apple's finally addressing this because, as we all know, there were so many people, I think it's actually double-digit percentage of iPhone users that, just as they said on social media when the first renders of the eyebrow the notch first appeared, they can't look at it without vomiting. So every time they're using their phone, they're just vomiting right onto the screen. And now I can't imagine what, after 2 or 3 years, that's done to the upper GI system. So this is a very, very humanist sort of approach from Apple.
Actually, I thought I would really hate the notch on the MacBook. And I've gotten used to that even. Although it does occasionally, I think Fantastical, because I have so much stuff in my menu, I think Fantastical is actually, I can't see it. I think it must be under the notch. So I'm sure FlexiBits will figure that out and move it. But other than that...
There's a lot of stuff like that where it's not that you ever think it's a good idea. It's not that you necessarily don't wish that you could have the old way back. But okay, you'll get over it. It won't ruin the experience. You really have to break it hard, compound fracture, in order to say, okay, guess what? I'm going to look at Windows or Linux right now because I just can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah. No,
my eyes are bleeding.
It's really the other direction. That's what Microsoft has pretty much done with Windows, and everybody's flowing in the opposite direction. Actually, PC sales were up big time last year, and Apple the biggest growth. They're still only 8.5% of overall PC sales, according to analysts. But they've been
firing on all
growth.
Cylinders. Over the last 2 years.
A lot of people buying those Macs. Yeah,
so good. Yeah,
and I have to say, we are starting to hear rumors about. Well, one rumor I just read, and I think it's kind of what you've already said, Rene, not so much as a rumor, is just, likely, is that the Mac Pro will actually be just a beefed up M1, and that there'll be M2s coming out this year probably for MacBooks, an Air.
Well, that'll be the low-end one. Like Apple had previously had that. This is the MacBook Pro for people who like the MacBook Air but want the Pro brand. And that was the one that didn't have the touch bar at first. And now, ironically, it's the only one with a touch bar, and that's going to be replaced by an M2 version. So you'll have the M2 MacBook Air and then the M2 MacBook Pro. The difference being the Air is going to have no fan. So it's going to have like a limit of 15, 20 minutes of like full out heavy workload. And then if you do want to sustain longer than that, you can get the MacBook Pro M2, and that'll just have what Apple calls an active cooling system, but it's a fan in it. So you can do harder workloads.
It's silly to ask. But
buy it.
Well, no, I was thinking, should I get a beefed up Mac Mini, which I could likely get in the next 6 months, or wait till the fall for a little mini Mac Pro, which sounds so cute on my desk?
You're probably waiting till the fall anyway.
You'll use them all. I mean, the great thing about the Mac Minis is you have. I mean,
there's
so many places to use them.
Inch
Alex is sitting on 4 of them right now.
I have a 55-inch OLED gaming monitor from Alienware. Right now, it's running Linux, in Valheim, but I would really like to attach a Mac to it. I don't know if a 55-inch Mac experience would be very good or not, but I'd like to try. And so the Mini would be fine for that, right? Yeah.
I have three Mac Minis in my space right now. Like literally in my system is 3. And the thing is at that price point, you don't feel bad about putting it and using something else, and it's so powerful. The M1 is.
I think it's perfect.
It's the coolest. The M1 Mini, Mac Mini, is the coolest Mac I bought.
I'm super happy with the M1 Pro laptop.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. I'm running a process.
Life-changing
I'm running a very, very, very slow brute force search on mine right now, and it's using 11 cores, 97% of 11 cores, and it has the fan's not on. It's not hot. It's 100% basically.
The CPUs cannot cannot saturate that machine. If you're just running CPUs, you will never saturate. You will never declock. Nothing like that will ever happen.
Wow.
Yeah. The envelope is big enough. You have to hit the GPUs if you want to start hurting that machine.
Yeah, and this is all CPU. Wow. That's really interesting. Because remember those i7 machines, even the i9 MacBook Pro, you had to put in the freezer. It would throttle. It got to 100 degrees Celsius, and it would throttle, and it would do that in seconds.
Intel changed the definition of turbo to accommodate because they could no longer keep a heat envelope. They would say that it was opportunistic, and it would just go like this every millisecond, trying to get like as much frequency as it could before it had to downclock again.
Crazy, and the fans are going, and the whole thing. This thing's just, it
doesn't keep me warm though, and like the Mac Mini doesn't keep my coffee hot anymore. That's like the biggest downgrade of these machines. I lose my free space heater.
The European, as we always, the European FCC database, what do they call it? It's the gift that keeps on giving. Consomac. The new iPhone model numbers. The Eurasian Economic Commission has been a good source in the past, and apparently has some new model numbers. Looks like iPhones and iPads, according to 9to5Mac, likely representing the upcoming iPhone SE Plus and the iPad Air. The new iPhone models A2595, 2783, 2784. Quite a few on the iPad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 iPad models. Do they give a different model number for a different color?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? Okay.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of SKUs. That's 11 new SKUs.
It could just be also radios, but their radios are so simple these days.
Now I don't know what the timelines are, but I think that bodes well for a spring release. Yes.
It does and it doesn't, because like this is the iPhone SE, which is basically the old iPhone SE with a 5G radio and a faster processor, which is fine. And also the iPad Air is basically the same iPad Air, but with a 5G radio, and a faster processor in it. So it's a very SE upgrade, but I think people who had their hopes set on M2 Max are going to be sad.
Yeah. Well, there will be other things. But you think the M2 Max will be June WWDC?
I hope, and for sure. Like I think the unveiling, like they often show the MacBook Pro, Mac Pro, in June, and then ship it December 31st at 11:59 p.m.
Well, June is coming quicker than we think. I hope.
Yeah.
Is it?
You think 2022 is going to be fast like 2021 or slow like 2020? I'm not sure yet. Feels like.
2021 hardly happened.
It feels like it's been 2022 for a year already.
Yeah. So maybe iPad Air 5 also rumored, with 5G center stage camera, also spring according to 9to5Mac, and Mako Takara. That's citing reliable sources in China. Does that seem credible? iPad Air 5.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be like the 2016 event where we got the iPhone SE and the small iPad Pro. That's basically what the iPad Air has become.
And this would be the debut. No, not the. Yeah, I guess the debut of the A15 on the iPad, right? I don't think they put that on the iPad.
The Mini has A15.
The Mini
the
does.
5-core version.
I love my Mini. Man, do I love that Mini.
Yeah, it's so fast.
It's so great. Okay. And then the SE Plus this year will be replaced next year, according to some rumors, by a bigger SE.
Next year or the year after with an iPhone 10R or iPhone 11 chassis. So it'll go to the modern. People who have been people who just want their home button will be really sad at that point.
Oh, that's right.
A lot of people wanted a modern
They still have a home
iPhone
button. That's right. I forgot about that. When are we going to see Type-C on an iPhone?
Does it have to be USB-C?
I think it has to come. I think it has to be sometime soon. I mean, I don't know about Type-C, but I think Thunderbolt. I mean, we need faster. I mean, now that you're doing ProRes, you really need a faster connector.
So maybe
I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to look at it and say that's 6-year-old technology, and we're going to be Apple, and we're going to make. Like I was joking in my video today. I did a 20-minute video today on what Apple could do post Lightning, and you could see like a Lightning Type-C, which just happened because Type-C is just a plug. You use Type-C for a lot of things. There's a whole bunch of different protocols behind Type-C, or they could just go MagSafe, and then you slap MagSafe on the back, and it charges and does data exchange.
Yeah,
that seems like more viable than a 6-year-old plug.
I agree with you. I think having USB 3 or 4 over Type C is very, very viable. I think it's maybe the most convenient solution for people who are using humans who are using phones. But I think that if Apple's going to make that kind of a big change where they're going to suddenly get rid of Lightning on the most popular platform, I do think that the Apple that I know and love is going to say, why don't we just have no ports whatsoever? And that's, whereas that might have been said in jest a couple of years ago. Now it's like, yeah, you know what? They've got MagSafe. They could even put a Pogo plug on the surface of it to do stuff that they couldn't do wirelessly. Let me be really clear. That wouldn't be my favorite way to access data on a phone, because like Alex said, sometimes I just can't use iCloud as a way of moving data from one place to another. Sometimes AirDrop is not going to work for this huge file. But that feels like the sort of thing that Apple would do, rather than simply use the standard that they're going to probably want to get rid of in 3 years anyway.
Yeah, I saw this great conversation between John Gruber and Steve Aquino, who does all the great accessibility stuff, and they were just talking about how they can barely see the Lightning port now. Like, for them, it's not an advantage. Like, they can barely get it in, and it's really tough, and you got to fiddle with it a lot. And if it just had something like MagSafe, and MagSafe could be like it is on the Mac, it could just be, and I just want to point out the irony that I saw, where everybody who's been lobbying for USB-C on the iPhone to get rid of Lightning, go standardized USB-C, a lot of them were also lobbying to get rid of USB-C on the MacBook and go to MagSafe, because it's just so convenient. And it turns out that, like, convenience versus compatibility is like a big internal battle inside nerd hearts. But to have something that would be like as easy and accessible, like just a magnetic version of USB-C, you bring it close enough, it goes thwack and you're connected. That's a huge win for anybody in the accessibility community.
I think you could build a MagSafe that had a USB-C in the center of it, so that, like, if you're in Europe, you could just push the little USB-C in. The MagSafe is the cool one, what everyone will use, but yeah, we got the other one just in case you want to use it.
The European Union doesn't care about, like, they only care about the plug. So if they can show it's MagSafe, then they're exempt from all that regulation, which is also interesting.
Well, the other solution is to support right to repair and user upgradability 100%. I flagged a story that I came across a couple of days ago, where someone, because the framework laptop, which is all modular, you can fix everything yourself, and also the ports are like modules you can slide in and out. Not only that, but the schematics are open source. The CAD files are open source. So someone said, I want MagSafe on my framework laptop. So they made a MagSafe compatible or MagSafe like power connector for the framework, and now I'm like,
it's like Handspring.
It's like I don't want to switch to Windows, but I kind of really want that laptop now.